Hi, I'm Zoe, and this is
Sean Morgan, Chief Architect here at Protect AI.
And we are here to talk about how today's security solutions are not fit for the future of artificial intelligence that is also here today, but is growing exponentially across the ecosystem. So, Sean, at the highest level, if we think about this in the terms of, like, let's say, sort of standard security practices, things like application security, offensive security, runtime security, how fit for purpose are those existing practices to meet the growing changes in the technology landscape with artificial intelligence?
Yeah, it's a great topic. What we see is that with a lot of the traditional application security or runtime security type analysis, there are components that directly apply to these AI applications, but they don't go the full step of analyzing these new threat surfaces. And so when we look at the new components of, say, building a generative AI application, there is new and expanded supply chain threats. There is new concerns that need to be addressed within respect to how do you test for vulnerabilities within these applications. It differs in the way in which you can analyze, is this application secure, just from a glance, or do you need to do some type of automated or repetitive testing against the system?
All right, so let's start with like the core baseline application. If you think about application security for an AI application, and let's start with like a more traditional AI application. So stuff using, let's not get into the generative stuff yet, just stuff using, AI. Let's say somebody's pulling down a model off of Hugging Face, using that to build out an application for AI. Where could they go wrong with the existing tools that are out there?
Yeah, so today, if you were to build let's say a computer vision application, something that is using a camera in order to identify shoppers or something along those lines, traditionally you would need to secure things around the code base that you're using, where you are actually running that code within the infrastructure. But within a AI application for, say, computer vision, the key difference here is now you are going to these external state-of-the-art sources for the kind of underlying engine behind the ability to detect things, which is the machine learning or the AI model. So that is one of the new kind of expanded surfaces that you see within application security, and needing to expand upon not only the models that you're pulling in, but the data that those models are trained on, and validating that those are good for your particular application security.
All right, so let's talk about OffSec. What does existing OffSec practices what is it not prepared to do that needs to be able to do in a world of generative AI applications?
Yeah, it's a great question. So when you look at offensive security in the traditional sense, when CVEs are published or there are kind of known vulnerabilities that you can expose and utilize, traditionally, if you know about a vulnerability and it exists within that application, you can simply run a penetration test or something to prove that this particular application is at risk. With generative AI, you get into the space of these non-deterministic models. And what I mean by that is you can ask the same question to a large language model and get two different responses. And so one of the kind of initiatives that we're kind of spearheading here at Protect AI is doing this in an automated fashion. The need to repeatedly test these models, even as you go into production and you're looking at, say, very small changes on the underlying data set, they can have very nonlinear changes to the model and the outputs that you get. So being able to do that in a automated fashion, not through the use of a full-fledged red team in personnel staff, but through automated tooling, kind of gives you that ability to be able to test these models for vulnerabilities that may not show up on the first attempt of a prompt, for example, and instead looking for the ability to test 10, 20, 30 times and seeing how the responses vary.
Let's say you're a red teamer today. You're like, that's your life.
Mm-hmm.
Spend every day red teaming applications. One of the things that I heard from a customer I was talking to a few months ago was, we are used to a volume of applications kind of hitting our desk to be red teamed. And that volume might be 10 a quarter that our team needs to red team. But all of a sudden, we're now getting 20, 25, 30 LLM applications a quarter, and it seems to only be getting faster. And then now you're telling me that it's also something that if I go and I do a deterministic test, I don't have any confidence that that is necessarily sufficient. So if I'm a red teamer, how do I think about working with a tool like this? Is it I push over the entire job to the tool, or is it an interaction between me and the tool? Am I telling the tool what to do? Like, what is my life like now?
Yeah, and it's certainly an evolving landscape, and you'll see within the Protect AI product Recon, what we've done is we've built in these type of human-in-the-loop augmentations that can be added towards the penetration testing, where you can actually define specific, attack objectives that relate to your business needs. So if you're a particular public company and you're making, say, a public chatbot, you may want to put, tests that probe against the ability to, say, give discounts on your products or something along those lines. So as a red teamer now, you're using these kind of automated toolings to make sure that you're analyzing the correct a surface of attack that your company is concerned about. But at the same time, as we've talked about with the acceleration of AI in products, it's expanding, and it's expanding rapidly, and the need for tools that can be utilized by these types of red teams is just becoming more and more important.
Yeah, because while you may want to test an application like that for your specific needs and things you might be extra sensitive to, also every week there's a new type of attack that comes out, a new line of, somebody comes out some clever way to break these LLM models. And so the other aspect of Recon is that you can kind of launch those in mass, right? All of the latest and greatest attacks to make sure that your application isn't sensitive to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And from the kind of need of doing this in deployment pipelines or in automated practices, you can do these in parallel. You can have several different tests going at the same time. And what you also can do is, utilize within Recon our actual LLM agent. And so you can actually use these type of LLMs in order to red team existing generative AI applications in a way that kind of scales your team and your ability to perform these analysis at scale.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Okay, now you've managed to build a safe and secure application. You've tested it, and you are ready to put it into production. What's new there?
Yeah.
What happens at runtime?
Yeah. So, in traditional, applications, you have endpoints, you have authorization in order to be able to use them. And what we're seeing is that within the generative AI space, the policies of which you want to apply against your application, whether that be exposed to internal users or external users, has grown both with respect to new regulations, but also specific callouts that are unique to your business. So here at Protect AI, we have a product known as Layer for runtime security, and what we do is we enforce policies not simply on just the prompt or the output of to a particular application. What we're looking at is the actual full session-based usage of the product. So a lot of these more sophisticated attacks that you're kind of alluding to here, they're these multi-shot attacks. There's this process of coercion through the application to see where the kind of probing the weakness spots are as you build towards the compromise that you're looking to achieve.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. I think I know he's not with us here today, but Neil, who's product manager for Layer, one of the things that he was educating me on was designing the system in a way that balances this trilemma of cost, accuracy, and latency. Talk to me about that balance, because I think that's one of the things when I've talked with other companies that are out in the ecosystem, sometimes they'll sort of have one of those aspects in mind, but until you're really in production trying to manage these workloads, it's hard to see how important that balance is.
Yeah. And so that's one of the things that we see, within the market is not addressing the three aspects there within, accuracy, cost, and latency. Because what you have to do is, as these applications scale and they, scale into, millions of requests, what you need to look at is, how you are collecting that information, those sessions that I talked about that you need to run policy evaluations on, is non-trivial. And there's different trade-offs that you can make at the cost of one of those three different components. So the Layer product is very unique in that it provides both SDK interfaces. It has an agent that it can be used for collecting this traffic through the network analysis, as well as the agent list strategy where you can actually analyze historical logs that come in, in near real time for these type of actions too. So we give our customers that balance to be able to select and choose the right deployment for them.
It's a wild landscape out there. Sean, if you were in charge of AI security for a major enterprise, what would you do first?
I think it's, at this point, it's largely about thinking ahead and looking around corners at, what the clear business motivations are behind AI, the need for the speed at which you can create applications that can serve, thousands to millions of users. And we need to be looking at the AI security aspects that are being, utilized so quickly in products. So like with this speed of pushing these type of applications to production, it's very easy to overlook the security components. And so I would say as a AI security director, you need to get ahead of that. And you need to start thinking, what is the potential attack vectors, do threat modeling, and analyze what types of products are out there in the market to help with that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Anything else you feel like all of our friends out in AI and security land should know?
Yeah, I'd say it's a very exciting time. It's a great time to be in an age where we're really, having a very forward momentum on the technological advancement. And as part of that, we need to make sure that we're doing it in a secure and safe way.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks.
Great.